Good afternoon, friends. Stephen Benoon and Yana Benoon with Israeli News Live, and going through a whole series of things we're going to be looking at here. Just setting the foundation, we're looking at Putin and President Xi of China and their New World Order that they're working on, and then how this whole movement of almost seeming like neo-Nazis across the world, Germany, the United States, other starting actually in Ukraine, moving through Germany and then even into the United States, at least traits of those type things. And you can't help but wonder if where did all this get started at in the first place? Well, we're going to find out that going into Israel, where a lot of police from around the world have been training, have been picking up those tactics, and are they preparing us for this new world order that Xi and Putin have been talking about? Interesting. A communist country and a former communist country that really hasn't really bridged very far away from communism, Russia and China, are going to spearhead this new world order. And Yana, I know you've got some interesting thoughts to share with us as well. We'll also be talking about the interview that Tucker Carlson did with this man recently from Palestine. And let's see if we can't put some pieces together to make sense of this all. Any thoughts you want to share before we move on?
No.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so RT, they just came out with this article. In fact, this came out on the 29th yesterday. Today is August the 30th, 2025. Putin and Xi to lay foundations for a new world order in Beijing. I highlighted some points in here. Putin's visit is not only a gesture toward history, it is a signal of unity. Russia and China are presenting the world with a shared vision, both of the past and of the future. Going on, for the West is a reminder that this alternative cannot be dismissed. The Trump administration attempted to pry Moscow and Beijing apart and may have been Washington's last opportunity to preserve an undisputed global primacy. That chance is gone, and by 2025, Russia-Chinese foreign policy coordination is closer than at any point in the past half century, and Putin's Beijing visit will cement that reality. The war in Ukraine will inevitably be at the center of Putin's discussion with Xi Jinping, and China is keen to play a more active role in shaping a settlement, a role that aligns with Russia's interest. And dozens of Western governments have become emotionally and politically entangled in daily support for Kiev. What really comes out of this, and I'm going to share this one last part here. It says here, Ukraine are not just about territory in Eastern Europe. They are negotiations over the emerging world order. So even the whole battle that's happening in Ukraine, according to what Russia is bringing out, is a key to what this new world order is going to be about. And that's where we even go into this whole idea of the Azov battalion, where this neo-Nazi group, and this is what Russia is always saying that they're fighting against neo-Nazism that is expanding around the world. I don't think that Russia is fighting against neo-Nazism. I think that neo-Nazism that has risen its ugly face right from Israel itself is setting the stage for a new world order, because it is Israel themselves that have given the power for China to become a world superpower, and as well, it is a Chabad organization that heavily backs Vladimir Putin. Your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Well, we know that Vladimir Putin's rabbi is a Chabad rabbi, and any kind of notion that Russia fights New World Order is false, because Russia is just as involved with making sure that in a future, soon future, Israel builds the third temple and arises as the spiritual center of the world. So they all cooperate. All three superpowers, United States, Russia, China, are cooperating with that final order. Spiritual center of the world will come out of. It will be in the Middle East. It will be Jerusalem. That's where all the international course is going to be transferred for all of the nations. So they're creating chaos, wars. We are not there yet. We're not at that stage, but we are very, very close because sometimes people think, how is this going to work with our constitution? And United States people would never, ever allow this. Well, they're going to get there. They're going to get us so desperate that we will allow it.
Yeah.
And that's what they're working on, and Russia is no different. Putin wants to see Israel rise as a spiritual center of the world as well.
And this is one reason why he's doing nothing about Gaza, just like the United States sending weapons, Britain sending weapons,
Yeah.
Germany pretending like they're not going to send weapons anymore, but I'm sure German weapons still make it in there. First, I'm just sharing one of Israel's secret police there. We know, Yana, that the U.S., especially the United States police, but also European police, have trained with Israel of what they call counterterrorism and what do? The little boys and stuff. This was who they call terrorists over in the West Bank and in Gaza. But it's also rising here in the United States, and probably one of the most critical things that we've had more recently. And let me find the right place for this here. I'll find it here in a second. Here is the mayor here of Boston, and I'll play a little comment that she says here because I am watching more and more, mainly it's Democrats that are calling out neo-Nazism in America, but it's even worse than that. This is not so much neo-Nazism, but it is Israeli trained police that are starting to brutally crack down on Americans. Let me play this little clip here.
I don't know of any police department that routinely wears masks. We know that there are other groups that routinely wear masks. NSC 131 routinely wears masks.
Mayor, just to clarify, are you comparing ICE, you said, to NSC 131, the neo-Nazi group? Are you comparing them to a neo-Nazi group?
What I said is that Boston Police and no police department that I know of at the local level routinely wears masks.
She's making a very valid point, and this is what a lot of people are not taking into consideration is that it is true that the ICE agents in America are wearing masks, and they're wearing it quite often, as we see here in this video right here. This was at an immigration office. This family comes in, they're getting their immigration, getting their legal papers done, but masked ICE militants are waiting for them as they come out of the office at a legal area getting in New York, trying to get their paperwork done. And they pull the man aside with his daughter, holding on to him.
Child. Scaring the child.
And the bad thing is here, many times they don't even have identification on or anything like that. They just show up, and we're seeing this over and over and over.
Yes, these are brutal techniques. They're definitely not something American, doesn't reflect any American behavior. Of course, we are not for illegal immigration. So anybody who wants to come to this country should come legally and do every step to become legal. But these techniques are very Israeli, I would say.
They are.
If you remember Eran Efrati, he was a son of police chief of Jerusalem, and he used to come to American universities to give speeches, and he warned young people that he knew this because he was from Jerusalem and his father was involved. That United States is sending police to train with Israelis, and then they are training on Palestinians, and all of these brutal techniques that Israelis are doing to Palestinians, the way they control them, the way they attack them, the way they imprison young children, okay, without trials. They just take them to prison and torture them. So he was warning that all of these techniques are going to be used here, and they're training police to do this on American citizens. So he was the one who kind of broke this knowledge here in United States, and we can see that even ICE, okay, their techniques, and there is so much news out there saying that they detain innocent people, they attack innocent people who are legal only because they have a Latino last name. Okay, so there is a tremendous fear out there right now from what they're doing.
And this is over and over and over. And I'm just showing some clips here for people now where, it's very common for police to train in, uh, they're training them over this is in Germany right now, and it is unbelievable what Germany is doing. Let me real quick, Yana, before I jump into that, let me show. It started really over in with the Azov battalion in Ukraine, and this is what Russia says over and over and over. They're fighting neo-Nazism. No, they're actually he's not fighting neo-Nazism. He, in one way, yes, he is, but secondly, he's fighting a new world order. The neo-Nazism is to help bring the West in line with the new world order of the Far East that they're trying to set up. That's my thought on that. But it's just over and over and over. They're all masked. Just the Azov battalion, very much masked, very much like what the ICE police are doing, and they say they do it to protect their identity. Police don't need to protect their identity. Police every day have no mask on. If you're doing things that are righteous, there's no need to hide your identity.
No.
Okay, the people know who you are. They respect that you're law enforcement and you're trying to do a good job to protect the American people. But unfortunately, ICE is not doing that. They're following in the same footsteps of these other battalions of these evils that they're doing here in the United States, and it's just become horrible. Now the Germans also. This here, by the way, this is a girl. They're protesting in Germany, and as they're in the protest for against what Israel is doing to the Gaza, the genocide in Gaza. Watch how, and I'll show you a couple of videos like this, Shauna, for you to talk about a little bit. Watch what the German police are doing. And in both cases, we're going to be dealing with women that I'm going to show. Watch what the police do. Punched her right in the nose.
Yes, he did.
He's going to do it again. Punched her again. Then she shows the blood. And then, you won't see it in this. They're going to drag her off. And the very policeman, that's the policeman that did it. Now,
beating a woman.
Yeah, beating a woman.
Because she's for Palestinian people.
Yeah. And why? They're saying in Germany, I've looked up several articles, neo-Nazism is rising back in Germany. What is it? It's all the West, the United States, Germany, Ukraine, everywhere you look, this is happening. This is a German police officer. Again, it was at a protest. Watch what they do to this young woman. She's running from the guy.
This is crazy.
What gets me, where are men that would stand up for a woman that's being brutalized like this?
Horrible cops.
Let the women video it, and men need to stand up and quit allowing women to be so brutalized.
I don't believe American men would prevent this from happening. I believe American police is perfectly willing to do the same thing.
Yeah, they are, and they have been. Yeah. We've seen this, and it really, unfortunately, look. I realize that Trump created this group called ICE for dealing with illegal immigration.
No, this is just the ICE is conditioning.
Yes, that's all.
There was no other way to introduce this type of behaviors in America due to Constitution.
Yeah.
Right? So how
Biden let all the illegals come in like an open border, and then Trump comes in there and brutalizes.
Now he has an excuse. Oh, we have to because we have so many illegal immigrants. So now that's how masks police that's brutal, who attacks innocent citizens as well, that's how they introduced it here. And look, people support it because it's in the name of illegal aliens.
Yes.
So that's how they do things, and people are still very uneducated how government operates and how they are. Government is never your friend. It's never for the people, and
Not
police
at
is
all.
never for you. They are only for to protect the corporations.
Watch what they say here on Fox News. This is where it really shows that it's gone down political lines on this. Listen to this here.
She's very progressive. Her name's Michelle Wu. You've
Talking
seen her on
talking
our show
about the
before. We've
mayor
talked
of
about her a lot.
Boston.
She was at this festival on Friday, and she was complaining about how horrified she was that ICE is coming through her city, that everyone in her community is terrified that they're going to be swept up by ICE. Listen to this. This is Michelle Wu, the mayor, and also House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
People are terrified for their lives and for their neighbors, folks getting snatched off the street by secret police who are wearing masks, who can offer no justification for why certain people are being taken and then detained.
Every single ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach and are trying to hide their identities from the American people will be unsuccessful in doing that. And every single one of them, no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, will of course be identified.
That is a new version of defund the police. Defund and demean the police. ICE agents have something to do. Get illegals out of their country, criminals first, people overstay their visas, for various reasons. His goal is to unmask ICE agents so they continue to get doxxed and their family harassed. Does he understand? Once again, a Democratic leader on the wrong side.
Now, here's what gets me.
Okay.
Now they victimize the police.
Yes.
When the victims, how many people, in fact, we had one case there where the person was already on a plane headed to some other country that was legal.
Yes.
And a judge ordered the plane to turn around, and Trump was like, well, too bad, so sad, sorry.
Right.
You know, this is happening all the time. You know, look, President Bush, he actually spoke about this. This was a little bit, though, before Trump got back into power. He said he was for immigration reform.
Mhm.
And I liked his policy. He said, what we need to do is to give these people a chance. Let's go through, if they don't have a bad criminal record, let's give them the option to become citizens if they're already here and they can pay back taxes.
Mhm.
All right. Most people don't make enough money to pay taxes. No way. They would, so they would probably be okay. It wouldn't really hurt. But at least that is kindness.
Yeah.
That's a Republican that's got kindness. Unlike these Democrats that are just, you know, victimizing
That's Republicans,
right.
But
It's crazy.
anyway, we are not Democrats. We are not Republicans.
Yeah,
so
neither
let's
one.
make that.
Yeah, so yeah, we have no political agenda for
Exactly.
either side. We're looking at right and wrong, and simply
Exactly.
we're seeing a trend that started by allowing our police to be trained with the Israeli police, who have been doing nothing but, as you all right, think about it like this, Yana. We see what they're doing in Gaza.
Mhm.
We're fixing to talk about this wonderful nun that you shared with me that Tucker Carlson interviewed. And I heard one of the things that she said that really touched my heart. She said, we know what they're doing in Gaza is coming to us next.
Yes.
And she was talking about Christians and Palestinians in the West Bank. And it's already happening. It's already started.
Well, I
Right.
have a question here for those who support ICE and their techniques, how they're attacking people, their masks, and all this. In my opinion, it is conditioning of people, and they're using illegal immigration as an excuse to introduce the idea and tolerate it on the soil. Okay, but what if ICE never goes away? We have gotten rid of all the illegal immigrants from in this country, and now what if they are used and their techniques are used on different citizen groups now,
Yes.
right? So it is the same way as there was this saying, first they came for the Jews, nobody said anything. Then they came for gypsies, nobody said anything because it was not me.
That's right.
Then they came for, I don't know how this saying goes, but it's a very famous quote, right? So, and then they came for me, but there was nobody left to speak for me.
Right. It was
So-
actually, they came for the gays next.
Right.
If I'm not
Okay.
mistaken, it was Craig LaForest, who I interviewed, that actually told me that. He sent me
Yes.
that statement.
That's
I'd never heard of
right.
it, but you had.
I did, and I just don't remember how it went. And I didn't know we're going to bring it up. Otherwise, I would look it up. And I'm sure in the comments, people are going to be writing this. But yes, it's first, let's use illegal immigrants as an excuse to introduce Israeli techniques of attacking citizens on the soil, on even non-citizens or people in general. Certain groups, let's use masks, all of this. And next time we're going to use it on different groups of people. And maybe in the future, when there is all these anti-Semitic laws, and you say something that you don't agree with Israeli government or maybe Jewish religion on something you don't agree,
Right.
maybe the same agents are going to come on you.
Yeah. We have a good example of that I'll share with you. A very dear friend of ours in Israel was married to a girl. He had done Aliyah. He was an attorney from the United States. He did Aliyah. If you go back, I won't call his name, but you could find him in some of the videos. I've interviewed him before. His wife, though, was from the Philippines. And one day, he got brought in by the immigration police of Israel, and his wife got deported. Even though he's legally married, they demanded he divorce her because she was not Jewish, demanded of him to divorce her. We offered to fight for him everything we could to help get his story to the world, but he was fearful. He didn't want to upset the Israeli government because, now, granted, he wanted to get his wife back. It took him 2 years to get her back. Right here in the United States, you shared with me a story of a U.S. military veteran was married to a girl that was an immigrant that he was trying to get her legalized.
Oh, yes. They were in the process.
Rushed in and kidnapped this woman
Yes.
and took her away.
And she had a newborn baby and was breastfeeding.
This is ICE for you.
And she is a wife of United States citizen, a veteran.
Yes.
Okay. And ICE came and took her, snatched her away from her baby and from the husband.
Yeah.
And now he's fighting, pleading to get his wife back.
And nobody will do anything for him.
Exactly.
So if we don't start speaking up now, it's coming for us next. Okay?
Right.
This is going to be tolerated. Wait till they decide. By the way, and I deplore any school shooting whatsoever. But sadly enough, as former Dr. Robert Duncan said, that was a former DARPA CIA official that worked on these programs, he said it is skull-to-brain technology that is used on a lot of these kids. They profile them, they watch them. And by the way, now they're they're going on overdrive on being profiling people. And now that this Gideon, I just did a broadcast yesterday about this Israeli guy. He's now a Fox News commentator, made it into Hollywood, but he was also former secret special forces of the IDF, right? He's bringing in a new thing, very similar to Palantir for law enforcement, called Gideon, and they're wanting to do pre-crime here in America.
Yes.
Pre-crime in America. So I can imagine the masked men will be coming for more and more people, as Jana brought out there.
And then what are you going to do? Republicans. Because they agreed to it, they allowing it, they're protecting this. And next thing it will be them for something. Government doesn't like they said something or they're doing something. You don't know when Trump gets out, what will happen. But these people, masked ICE, is already going to be on the soil operating.
Yeah.
So
when you said what you're going to do, reminded me of that law enforcement song that just burned in the minds of Americans. And it was a favorite TV show. I used to like watching it as well when it would sing that song, Bad Boys, what you going to do when the cops come for you?
Yes.
But maybe we were being preconditioned already, even back then, Yana. All right, where do we go next here? Should I go ahead and pull up the nun's testimony first, just to have?
Well, that nun testimony, I really recommend everybody watches this. It was Tucker Carlson that had her on. She is from Bethlehem and Palestine, and she's basically bluntly telling the truth as it is, shocking truth about a situation in Israel and what's happening with Gaza. And some of the things when I'm listening to this interview, we have been discussing and telling people there's a lot of information, and what has been said to American Christians here in America are simply lies. Okay.
Yes.
And then she's unraveling all of these lies and telling it like it is. I say, please watch this interview twice because she's revealing a lot of good stuff. So if you want to
Tucker is,
play,
I'm going to play. I got a part here I wanted to play
Mhm.
anyway, because as I was listening to it, Tucker, God bless his heart, the man is really taken off the gloves, and he's made a stand for the Palestinians in Gaza. As my wife has said so many times, our greatest regret is not going to the Palestinians when we lived in Israel.
Yes,
Um,
being brainwashed
yeah,
in Zionism, and um, once we learned the truth, we just didn't go back. It was dangerous for us to go back.
yeah.
And I'm very regretful. If I had one more chance to go safely to Israel, I would visit Palestinians and be with them and among them, not among Israelis, really. So this nun is telling a lot of truth, Steve. I mean, it's worth watching this.
We're going to play. Real quick before we do that, I haven't covered this at all, but I really quick
Okay.
want to just say this real fast
Mhm.
here. This is so important right here. Again, Israel killed 4 more journalists and 11 civilians after a strike on a Gaza hospital. These journalists that you see pictured here, they were there trying to rescue people and cover the story of what happened. And there it is right there. They were up there. Israel sends in a drone and kills them. Israel did their investigation. Oh, it was a Hamas terrorist hiding in there. We had to kill him. So it was worth it for them to kill these journalists right here. These 4 people lost their life, this lady and these 3 men here. And I forget, Yana, how
It's
many,
one of
over
hundreds. I mean,
300 journalists, I think,
yes.
or maybe over 400 by now, have been
Doctors,
killed.
nurses, medical workers, any
They don't
intelligentsia,
care.
teachers, um, journalists. They're not allowing journalists to enter from other countries because they don't want the truth.
No, they don't. They
No.
just, and by the way, we do have a very brave senator over there right now from the United States. I'll mention that real quick before we play that too. Let me pull him up. Uh, He's in Israel right now, and he is demanding. He has visited even this is him right here.
Mhm.
He has Senator Van. What's his name? I'm pull
I
it back
want to
up
talk
again. Van
about I
Hollen.
want to talk about the humanitarian disaster in
Yeah,
Gaza. It's now
I
been
just
well over 60 days since the Netanyahu government imposed a total blockade of humanitarian assistance to the people of Gaza, not allowing any food or any other humanitarian assistance to reach the over 2 million civilians there. Withholding food and humanitarian assistance as a weapon of war is flat out illegal under international.
I won't play the whole thing there, but I just wanted to play him real quick. He went there himself. He went into Gaza. He went to the warehouse where there are three weeks for worth of food for every single day, 3 times a day for the people that are there that Israel holds up as a weapon. He's the only senator that I know of that has the courage to make that stand. So God bless him. I guarantee Ron Paul would be there too if Ron was younger.
Mhm.
Um,
Francesca Albanese is another lady.
yes,
She's
yes.
a special rapporteur for United Nations.
Love to
She
have her on
she is
him as well.
warning about what is happening and reporting truth. She has been called anti-Semite. She has been attacked. And this woman is so brave. She's my hero. I
Yes,
mean,
she
just the
is.
way she speaks, and she doesn't care what they call her, and she speaks for humanity and for
Her
truth.
her statement that she said, my favorite of all, they had a reporter ask her, does Israel have a right to exist?
Mhm.
And Francesca says, a right to exist? They exist.
Right.
Israel exists. Do they have a right? You don't have to ask that question. She said the question should be, do the Palestinians have a right to exist?
Exactly.
Israel exists. She said that's like Italy and France. They exist. We don't ask, do they have a right to exist? They exist. She said, if they decide to become Italy, France, and they want to do that, that's a different issue. But she said it's the Palestinians. The question is, do they have a right?
Who is asking that question for the Palestinians? So yes, please look up Francesca Albanese. I follow her on Twitter,
Yes.
and look
Let
up
me
my
pull her-
Twitter, definitely.
Yeah, Jana's
Follow
Twitter
my
too.
Twitter because I post every day important information there.
Jana uses her maiden name on hers,
Mhm.
Jana Satova at INL Jana. Right here is her Twitter account there. And I can probably find very quickly Francesca's on here by just looking through some of your posts here.
Oh,
Let me just put Francesca in there because I actually
Francesca Albanese. I do post her very often. She Francesca.
did I spell it right? Probably not.
No, probably not.
I am following her as well, like yourself. So I can't find it. Let me have you type it in there because you can type better than I can. Here we go. Follow Francesca Albanese as well. Absolutely amazing lady here, who is a true voice for those
The
that are on
truth.
there.
The truth.
So,
yes.
and at least 998 of our followers are following her. So God bless you for doing that. You're seeing what she's putting out, and she's also, this is those journalists there.
Yeah.
They were there. There you can see them helping to get people out. What does Israel do? Kills them too. Where's the normalcy in it?
There is none, Steve. They're getting away with murder, with war crimes, and it's to the point where they're just getting away with it on the entire earth. And that was like a pilot program. If Gaza gets by, if whatever they did, and they can still continue, that means they can do this to the world, Steve, and nobody will say anything.
It's sad.
See?
All right, let me play here. Tucker Carlson with this wonderful nun here. Does it have her name on there, or we'll just play it?
Character. But I'm just still confused by the idea that the Christian population is declining under Israeli rule. Yeah. You would think just the opposite.
What gives them
declining?
What I observed from my time in Israel and going back every year is that they do not want any Palestinians there. So the majority of Christians in Israel and Palestine are Palestinian. So they have to leave too. What grieves me is that the Holocaust is a horrible, horrible thing that happened. People slaughtered fairly quickly. Sometimes the thought comes to me when I've driven between, there's a tunnel road that goes from Jerusalem to Bethlehem, and it's only for the settlers to go on down to the continued settlements that lead down further south in Israel, to Hebron, or actually I shouldn't say Israel, into Palestine, other Palestinian territory. As you're going, that tunnel road has been carved out of land that belongs to people in Bethlehem and Bejala, which you're passing by on that tunnel road. So it's like a living death. How would you like to be a man? That was your grandfather's olive trees, but now it's controlled by Israel, and you're not even allowed to drive on that road. And on that very same road, I remember a poignant picture. There was a woman that worked at our convent, she was a nurse, and took care of the nuns. And she had a home, a very typical stone Arab home, beautiful home with grapevines. I remember going to pick the grapes at the house. That is now part of they just confiscated the land. She fought it. She fought as long as she could to try to keep her property. And I remember passing by there some years, and there's slowly new Israel homes are being built that look very different. And there's something that looks out of as if it belongs to biblical Palestine. And so what I was getting at is that these people, they're dying as they're living. Because it's like, and I remember sitting at the home of one of those people in Bejala, and they had lived in the center of town. It was his father's home, and then he built a new one near the Talitha Kumi Lutheran School. And I literally was sitting with them one afternoon, and he gets a call from his brother. The Israelis are here. They're pulling up our olive trees, cutting them down on some of their land. And he ran over. He collected as many of the trees as he could. Military order, that's what it was. They just go and do it, even though it's not their land. And then military order, nothing you can do. They have jeeps and weapons. You're not going to stop them. But he was able to take some of those trees. This shows the resiliency, and the word is samud. It's like, it's a quiet persistence. This is our land, and we're going to stay here. And this man is a doctor who studied in Hungary. He took those olive trees, and they now are on a plot of land next to his new house.
You know, and it's what she's describing. We've seen so many images. Not only that, these settlers that are illegal in a lot of these settlements in the West Bank. Even when we were there, I remember this one Palestinian cab driver was telling us about here's this huge apartment complex going up. He said, that's on our land.
Well, this is the deal. How do you know that the original people of biblical Israel are actually Palestinians? It's not really those Israelis that made Aliyah, the Europeans, you know. Look how easily they can cut down olive trees. Olive trees are like
the most sacred of all trees.
They're the sacred treasure
There's
of that land.
Trees 2,000 years old there. The time when Jesus walked there, they're still there.
And Palestinian people value those trees, nurture those trees, care for them. They're proud of the olive oil and olives. You know, it's so typical for that land and these people to love the olive trees. Well, this is in itself a proof that those European imposters, I would say, they don't feel anything toward the land. They don't feel toward the trees. That even in itself proves they're not from there and they don't belong there.
Exactly. Jesus said, plain as day, those that say they are Jews, but are of the synagogue of Satan.
That's right.
And we know who that is because when Jesus was here 2,000 years ago, he identified that the Pharisees of his day were serpents. They weren't even the real Jewish people either.
They're the serpent seed of the devil.
Yeah, and now they're back again. And so what have they done? They're throwing out the true indigenous Jews of that land, those that were... And why are there so many Palestinian Christians? Because when Jesus left, they had been converted. There was a major sweep of conversion.
She's going to talk about this. She actually talks in this interview about the fact that a lot of these Palestinian Christians, because, you know, American Christians forget it's not just Muslims, which we are not to do this even to Muslims, but it's not just Muslims. There was a lot of Palestinian Christians and they are under Israeli rule and they are also treated very badly by Israel and they're Christians.
I found where it made
and she's speaking of how those are original Christians that were left, they are descendants of the original people of Israel who converted to Christianity in the time of Jesus, right?
Yeah.
So...
This is where let's see if we can catch some of that. If you need to read something, please don't.
Christians in America that just like many Jews are protesting and saying not in our name, and the Jewish Voice for Peace, there has to be much more done by the Christians in America because these Christian Zionists are speaking in our name. Someone like Ted Cruz, Senator Cruz, is saying and doing what he's doing because he's following a Christianity that is not the Christianity of the Holy Land. It's not the Christianity of a Catholic or an Orthodox or a traditional Christian. It's a heretical belief.
What is Christian Zionism?
Mm-hmm. As far as I understand it, they believe in the idea of the rapture. They believe that it's sort of this cruel bargain they have going with Israel, because basically what they say that they're going to be swooped up into heaven, right? And then there's going to be a 1,000-year kingdom, and then there'll be the end of the world and the judgment by Christ, and he'll come back. This is a false. It was condemned as a heresy in 381 because basically there is no 1,000-year millennium to come, no 1,000-year period. The end we are in that time period now. And so it's a false belief there. And
so basically what they're arguing is that Jesus coming the first time wasn't enough?
Yeah. And it's like, in a way, it's denying the Messiah. As an Orthodox Christian, the most important thing in my life is that we receive the body and blood of Christ. And we prepare ourselves to receive that body because Christ came as God and as man. And if you read John, it's actually 6:66, first he says, take, eat, this is my body, and drink, this is my blood. And many people that heard the saying and found it to be a hard saying and turned away from him. Yeah. So everybody was Jewish then, right? But some believed and some didn't. And some continued to follow only the law. And some said, and Christ superseded the law. He said, there's something more than that law. I am the law. I fulfill the law and the prophets. We believe in the Feast of the Transfiguration on Mount Tabor. It takes place near Nazareth. I've been there many times. And in our icons, in our images, you see Moses and you see Elijah aside Jesus, because the law and the prophets have been fulfilled in Jesus Christ. He came and said, I'm the church, I'm your salvation. And you know what I think often about is where I lived in the Mount of Olives, St. Mary Magdalene Convent. Right above it is a Catholic monastery called Dominus Flavit, Christ wept. It's where Christ wept. And I think of it often now because to some degree with Muslims, to a lesser degree, because they retain some of the Christian sensibility, but he's weeping over the people that didn't see him, that didn't understand who he was. And so they follow only the law. And I think that's why you see these are people that can somehow justify allowing for the starvation and ethnic cleansing of so many people. Because think of the stories from the Gospels, where Christ heals the man with the withered hand.
Yes.
And he's looking behind him are the Pharisees, and he's grieved at their hardness of heart because he was healing, doing a work on the Sabbath day, and that was against the law. And so now these Christians of wrong belief believe that they need to rebuild the temple as part of their plan. So they believe that the current state of Israel, which has nothing to do with the biblical Israel, is needed to be built up so that then somehow they can restore and build that temple, fulfill an obligation of the law. And the price of that, they're willing to forego the compassion that Christ talked about and allow people to be starved and wiped out. And
That's so true. I mean, I'm not Catholic. You're not Catholic.
Yeah.
We are not promoting Catholic practices here, beliefs.
Right.
But what she says here is true.
Yeah.
The core of what she says is absolutely true. The Zionist Christians have no compassion of Christ.
Mm-mm.
They're allowing wiping out innocent people and blood. And they're supporting political Israel and Talmudic Israel. I don't think Talmud is a cover for politics. That's what it is. It is an ideology that's covered up as religion. Okay, right now.
And she says it so beautifully that I haven't thought about it like that there, that modern Christianity, because they're so passionate in believing a false doctrine, that the Jews have to build this third temple,
Yes.
that they're allowing the slaughter of the genocide of Gaza and say nothing about it because you can't dare speak against Israel, although it doesn't say nothing like that in the Bible.
Right.
They
God
totally pervert.
Look, God himself
covenant.
spoke against Israel many times.
Yes. And so did the prophets.
Yes.
Condemned them completely.
Right. So where is this idea that when they are doing something wrong, you can't speak it? Where? Because it's not in the Bible. Can you play a little bit more of her?
Sure.
Christians in America have to understand that you're allowing both people who support the state of Israel, who are Jewish, and those Christians who think they're doing something in the name of Christ when it's far from the name of Christ, and it's actually causing the end of the Christian population in the Holy Land. It's going to be, the numbers have dwindled. Now we're getting to the small thousands. I just received a call the other day. Jacob's Well is in the large city of Nablus, in the center of the West Bank, which has been grievously raids take place all the time, and it's very difficult. But what happened the other day was that a Christian-run factory. In Nablus, there's about 600 families, around 600 Christians, a number of churches, and Jacob's Well, which is a very important site to us. We always go there on a pilgrimage when we can. And their factory, no warning, no permit. First, on June 26th, I believe, the Israeli army came in and confiscated some of the factory equipment. And then 2 weeks later, they came and blew up a big portion of the factory. So how are people supposed to have... They gave no reason. There was no permit. They have lawyers. There has been, as far as I know to this date, no court order, no reason. And the only thing, quickly what popped into my head, because it's a metal-making factory, okay, they must be using it to make weapons, right? These are Christians who have been there for decades, centuries, I think, even the family. And it's a well-known business, all right? And no order was given. And I almost feel a little worried about saying anything because I don't know what the repercussions will be with that family because they have no recourse. Who do they go to?
Where's Ted Cruz in all this? Ted Cruz talks about how he's a Christian. Mike Johnson is the Speaker of the House, talks about how he's a Christian.
Well,
they talk about it a lot, actually.
I think we have to. I'm not sure that it can be done by, we have to battle AIPAC and the Christian Zionists by the Christians standing up, say, not in my name. We can't be doing this. So if they're getting money from these organizations, then Christians have to have enough concern to say, I don't want this happening in my name.
No, and to my brothers in Christ.
Right, exactly. And not only it's the real people, the living stones that are there that keep the churches open, that keep things going, but also for our Christian legacy. We're supposedly a country based on a Judeo-Christian heritage, right? But so where is that Judeo-Christian heritage when you're destroying the very foundations of it? St. Jerome translated the Bible in Bethlehem. The cells where he was at are under the Church of the Nativity. You know, the very roots of our Christian heritage are there, and we're letting it be destroyed. Not physically and physically by killing the people, but also there's a wonderful person. When you talk about resistance, well, this all started with Hamas. So for the most part, I would say they're a resistance movement. They're simply people fighting for their people, trying to protect their land. And I don't know if we want to reach into the area of the whole problem is that it was never defined what Palestine is. You know, the Oslo Accords took place, and then there was nothing to. There was area A, B, and C, and you didn't have a Palestine. So little by little, Israel just keeps taking over the land, like confiscating, building the settlements, adding the checkpoints, and strangling the life of anybody living there. Now I lost my train of thought.
Well, here's a story you probably haven't heard a lot about. The Chinese mafia is.
So this is where we've come to.
Yeah.
We have come to a place now to where, Israel can do no wrong in the sight of Zionist Christians in America.
Right.
If you dare stand up for true Christians that are living in Palestine or the modern state of Israel, you are considered a heretic.
Christians and Christian pastors here in America do not care for Palestinian Christians. They never mention them. They never even look at them as their brothers in Christ at all. They will stand up for political Jew like Glick. They will interview a rabbi, give honor to the rabbi, invite the rabbi to the church. They will do this. Someone who believes in Talmud, who is enemy of Christ. I mean, this book tells you what Talmud is, but they will not even give one thought to what are these Palestinian Christians going through.
Right.
They are being slaughtered the same way as Muslims are. Not to say we are allowed to do this to Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a complete shame, and I do not identify. I mean, when somebody says, "Yeah, I'm a Christian," but I very much make sure I explain I'm not a Zionist Christian.
Yes.
Because I don't want anything to do. This is a blood guilt, and it will have major repercussions.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. And you cannot hide behind Genesis 12. Whoever blesses Israel, it doesn't say Israel. God said to Abraham, and it's singular, whoever blesses you, I'll bless. Whoever curses you, I'll curse. And it happened in his lifetime.
Also, she's saying that toward the end. Hold on, I watched it like twice.
In a majority Christian country is paying for all this. Right. So that's kind of the...
That's the mentality. Or I'll tell you a story. My father is a priest, right? A Greek Orthodox, and he was wearing a collar suit. He visited one time, and we visited the town of Taiba. And there was a checkpoint before you enter into the town.
Can you give us perspective? Where is Taiba?
Taiba is biblical Ephraim. It's when Christ, after he raised Lazarus from the dead, he went about 10 miles to the northeast of Jerusalem, Bethany area, to prepare himself before he would come back to Jerusalem for his crucifixion. Ephraim is known as the town of compassion, of solace. Even in the time of Saladin, it was called Ephraim. It's now called Taiba, which means the good or the beautiful. So it sort of had that reputation. So he went there to prepare himself for his crucifixion. 20 miles, not even 20 miles from Jerusalem.
Interesting. So with your father, who was
my dad,
a pretty
priest,
famous,
an American priest, dressed as a priest, and my mom was there too. So we were going to drive it. So there's a checkpoint sort of at the entrance of the town, and then you have many olive groves. Which, by the way, I was just talking to someone the other day. They have about 8,000 acres of land, let's say, and over a quarter of it has been confiscated either by settlers and the army allowing them to take their olive groves, and they have no recourse. There's nothing.
Who owns the land?
The Palestinian Christian families.
And it's been confiscated from Christian families.
Well, confiscate. What do you do when they have guns and you don't?
I don't know. You call your patron church in the West and you say, raise a stink, call Ted Cruz.
Right. Well,
and other self-described Christian.
Mike Huckabee came, right? And then the only thing
So what did Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel?
He said he was very concerned because also it happened, which they didn't. There's 3 churches in Taiba, an Orthodox, Greek Catholic, and Catholic, and there's also the ruins of a 4th century church that still partially stands, and people will still go there sometimes. Not full services, but just to be at the spot. It's a place that was built by St. Helen in the 4th century, Church of St. George. Settlers burned the brush, and also there's a cemetery right next to it, burned that area.
They burned the cemetery?
Everything's stone there, so nothing burns, but they burned the area around there. So you have grass and brush, that was burned. Yeah. And not only that, I was shocked when I saw how much they've infiltrated. It's one thing, the entrance of town, and you've taken the open land, the olive groves. They have Bedouins. Like in that town, there's a beer factory, a distillery, a hotel, and Bedouins have been forced off their land around there and are now living with allowance of the Christians to be there because they have no place else to go and no one to protect them. So Ambassador Huckabee comes and he's very concerned because of an attack on a church. And also that same week, a Palestinian American had been shot dead by settlers or beaten to death. Saif was a lot, 20 miles, not even 20, a couple miles away. And he was going to address that as a Palestinian American to see that Israel would investigate. Nobody's been arrested or done.
He's an American citizen?
Yes, he's from Florida. He's often, just like
I'm American citizen was beaten to death?
By settlers.
And no one was arrested?
No, never happens.
See?
Down in Hebron, just there. And my concern in talking to you.
And we're sure that happened?
We're absolutely sure that happened. Yeah,
How can an American citizen be beaten to death in an Israeli-controlled area paid for by the United States and nobody does anything about it?
Well, this is our problem, isn't it?
I'm sorry, I keep stepping on your story. So Ambassador Huckabee shows up.
He shows up and he says, he's very concerned about what happened.
Huckabee's not concerned about
the next day, settlers were there with cows marching through the town with their cows. So it shows that they are in control. And not only that, just a couple days ago, this is a week after he's been there, in the Bible, there's a story of Ruth. One of the women in Taiba is married to she's a Greek American, married. They met in school in Boston. They got married. He was going to business school, her husband. He came back to Palestine to establish the business. She goes with her husband, becomes Palestinian, going to care for the people of his nation. She got a PhD at Harvard. She's written books about the Holy Land, and with the sales of those books, little by little, she visited parishes in America, and she raised money so that they could build 30 homes for Orthodox people. So those homes were cars of the people in those homes were burned the other day, and there's graffiti again on the wall, and it names another village, and it says, "You're going to regret this." And the rest, I talked to 2 Israeli people who are from Israel, and they couldn't even decipher the top part. So, because it's very interesting. A lot of the settlers are actually people from Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
They have dual citizenship.
Yes.
And they go back and forth between us freely. They can go to Ben Gurion Airport, go through Tel Aviv to come to the settlements in the West Bank. But those people in Taiba, who are actually American citizens as well, they can't go through Ben Gurion Airport.
How is it that an American citizen can't go through Ben Gurion Airport?
Because he's also a Palestinian.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely sure. Yes.
That's right.
They have to go through Jordan. And right now, and through a border that is controlled on one side by Israel. And right now it's so difficult. They only open for, I've been told, from 8 to 1 or 2. And you've got thousands of people trying to come through, right? So you could be there for hours and you may not get through that day. People make plans to, the only way Palestinians can do anything to be free is to go to another country. I mean, even for a vacation or something, you don't feel free in your own country. I used to feel that when I was living there. In the summer times, that's why I would travel to different countries, because within Israel and Palestine, you feel like you're in prison. You can't feel like a person. And so if you have the opportunity to go away, to breathe a little bit, you do that.
Since you are an American and you obviously know people in positions of authority, when you come back to the U.S. and tell these stories at dinner, what do people say?
At dinner, they show concern when you tell the story. But again, maybe it seems too distant for people. Or I have also, since I've talked to people in our churches, and I'm trying really now to focus on organizing, because people say, how can we help? Now they're really seeing the gross things that are going on. Where do we send money? What do we do? Yes, people need money, but what we really need is political change. So I'm sort of bordering on 3 different congressional districts, and we've tried to set up appointments with our congressmen. They've thrown us off. I'm talking about middle-aged women trying to go see their congressman. They don't want, when you tell them what you want to talk about, they don't want to make an appointment for you to be able to educate them. I did, and then I wrote a letter to my congressman, Nicholas Langworthy. He writes back an Israeli bullet point, an AIPAC bullet point reply, basically saying, Hamas is the problem, and it's okay to send weapons over there. So, but little by little, we have to go and keep educating. If enough people keep knocking on the doors and saying, we don't like what we're doing. Why are we sending billions of dollars to Israel? And then we're cutting Medicaid. People don't have jobs in his district. In fact, I was listening in, he did a phone town meeting or whatever. And most of the people were concerned because they didn't have enough money for groceries, or, what was going to be done with their health care in the coming months and years. And then no questions about, he didn't take my question on the thing. I wanted to ask about Israel and why we were sending more offensive weapons. We're not talking about, don't play this game. Nothing wrong with the Iron Dome and protecting yourself. You're in a tough neighborhood. I'm talking about assault rifles, which was just passed again, to give assault rifles that Ben-Gvir then just gives into the hands of settlers, who then kill the Palestinians in the West Bank.
Yes,
and we're financing
all the time.
That. So other people, have you not had enough? You really want this done in your name. But the politicians make it hard too. They don't want to hear it. And you have, and I understand, when I lived there in the early 2000s, Congressman Darrell Issa and Carolyn Maloney was
so maybe people, I really recommend they listen to her like about twice because she's explaining it very well. So
And I have it on a little bit of a faster
okay,
thing there.
that's
so
why.
That's why.
I had a hard time following. I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
she speaks fast.
Yeah, she doesn't speak that fast, but
No.
but you need to listen to the entire interview and do something about it. My gosh, I mean,
At least
are we
educate
going to
everybody.
allow AIPAC to control the entire United States for the rest of our lives? Is that the way it's going to always be?
Steve, they already do.
I know that.
We are
but-
way too late in the game. There is
Yeah.
no way out. And 90%, 99% of American Christians are Zionist.
That is so sad.
Yeah,
So sad.
mhm,
Anyway,
yeah.
listen, as we close here, guys, let me just encourage you to support the broadcast here. There's a couple of ways you can do it besides supporting us financially directly on our website. You can donate right there online. Another thing you can do, which helps you, not just us, but it really helps you, and that's Lifewave, the X39 pad share. Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern. We always do, and we're getting deeper into it now. Yana's doing not just X39 there, but she's going into deep discussions on menopause, andropause for men, the health benefits, things like that.
Healthy aging. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to help people because a lot of the people that have been listening here for years, you're like us, you're coming into those ages and maybe you're suffering a lot and don't even know what to do. So Yana is really, she's almost done with her practitioner program there, where she can really speak with more authority there, but she is also a nurse midwife from Europe. So she's able to share some very insightful things. But Lifewave, listen, you can click right from our website. It'll take you right to the page here. You don't have to be doing this as a business. You can just simply use it as a product. But we've been on this now for almost 2 years, and we wouldn't stop for nothing in the world. We both have had such amazing experiences, lower blood pressure, heart rate lowered. I mean, I can't even begin to name all the things.
Well, we can talk about that
Yeah.
Sunday if you come to our
Yeah.
Zoom. What is it? It's Stephen
It's x39hub.com.
X39hub,
Yes.
HUB.com.
I'll put a link in the description below. But that, and of course, you can donate right there directly online. And if you happen to hear this on iConnect, you can donate right there on iConnect as well. We appreciate you so tremendously much. And we hope that this video will really help you and open your eyes. Patreon is another place you can support the work that we do, patreon.com/Israeli News Live. I've loaded several videos here over the last week on our Patreon channel. I'll be doing another one yet again this evening for you. Because we got some really serious things going on when it comes to the sun and how it's going to affect the earth. Some very strange. It's interesting because Mr. Burns, who is a geophysicist, is talking about that how the earth is absorbing these different types of radiations and frequencies now. He's a geophysicist saying it. Well, if you go back about 2 years ago, I was telling you that the sun was putting off some things that the government didn't even want to tell the people about that's affecting the earth. And so I find it interesting that he's a geophysicist and saying it. So I'm going to talk about that tonight on Patreon as well. I did for a little while, for about 24 hours, I let one of those teaching videos go public, and boy, did that thing get a lot of views. You might want to go jump on Patreon and take a look at it. It's under our deep dive program. So
you have a link for people. You will leave it
patreon.com/Israeli News Live. In the description below will be everything. Definitely. We need your support, and because we can't do it without you, and you're the ones that have made that possible for us for all these years, and we thank you for that. God bless you, and thank you for listening.